First thing I want to do is get my paint the consistency that I want to use on the panels. So I'm going to dip the brush in the paint, then dip it in the water and smoosh it around a little bit on the tray there, trying to get it thinned down enough to where I can work with it. As you can see, I'll brush it up against the side of the tray to let it run down till I gauge how thin it is. Once I get it as thin as I want, then I'll move over to the board. You just want to put the paint on the board and move your brush back and forth. Keep the brush start with it off the board and continue on past the edge of the board. When we work on the garage doors, we'll have these panels taped off, and you'll start your stroke from the left side on the tape and run it all the way across the panel and onto the right side tape. That way you get a nice clean edge. You can see the wood grain pattern starting to show up. The harder you press your brush down against the panel, the wider the bristles will spread, and it'll give you your variation in the grain pattern. Going to get a little bit more paint here. I didn't get much paint on there. I just put my brush in the water. This bottom half of the board here is not going to have much paint on it because you want a little variation. You don't want the whole thing to be the same degree of light and darkness. You want parts of it to be lighter, parts of it to be a little darker. You want parts of it to have a heavier grain, parts of it to have a lighter grain. You want some of the grain to be farther apart, some of the grain to be tighter. On this bottom part, I barely have any paint on my brush at all. I'm just more or less scrubbing whatever paint's on there onto the board. Once I get the board covered, I'll use the brush to go back and forth and establish some sort of grain pattern on there. But this bottom part will have a lighter look and a tighter, smaller grain pattern. Not much paint on there at all, just moving the brush back and forth, smoothing things out, making it look nice. Looks like a nice piece of wood to me.